Hey, it's Fox from InfernoFox Gaming. So what kind of collection of Sega Genesis games could a Nintendo fanboy have? Find out today. So today I'm going to be featuring my Sega Genesis collection. And as you've seen on the thumbnail and the title, I am a Nintendo fanboy, but I am a lapsed Nintendo fanboy, meaning that I have embraced the excellence that is and all Sega consoles, and that of course includes the Sega Genesis. I grew up having a Sega Genesis, but I only had a couple of games featuring the Blue Blur, and that was really about it. I didn't like the whole Nintendo don't what Sega does and all the sort of rhetoric that Sega threw around to sort of have negative connotations that Nintendo fans were very childish, and me being childish, I stuck to my guns and my Nintendo fanboyism up to and through the Nintendo 64 era. Boy, what a mistake, because I missed out on some excellent Sega Genesis games in the 4th generation, and honestly, some excellent PlayStation 1 games in the 5th generation. I'm still making up for that today. But we are going to go through what I believe are some of the best Sega Genesis games. I've got them in my collection. I've limited myself to 10 games because I am a lapsed Nintendo fanboy. I only deserve to have 10 Sega Genesis games. I'm limiting myself because I need penance. And I started my journey of penance with this guy right here, the Sega Genesis Mini. This was an absolutely excellent mini console that Sega released at the time. It had a number of fantastic Sega games, and it was 42 of them total. It was originally 40, but they added 2 of them. I believe one was a Darius arcade port and a Tetris game on the Sega Genesis. That wasn't on there or released, but they included it. And this had a number of gems that I was able to get physically. To that end, I also picked up this guy, the Sega Genesis Mini 2 from Amazon Japan, which they actually shipped this to the United States for those that were interested. I think there might be still some of these in stock. With this is of course this tiny box, the Sega Genesis Mini 2. It's the actual Genesis that I purchased and grew up with. The controller though is the 6-button one, and to that end, this also included the Super Street Fighter 2, the new Challenger, so that you're not having to hit the start button to switch from, I think it was like punches to kicks and back and forth like you had to do with the normal Street Fighter games like Street Fighter 2 Turbo. But this also included a number of Sega CD games. My collection will not include any Sega CD games because I'm just focusing on the Sega Genesis. So let's kick things off with my Sega collection. Of course, it's going to be the Blue Blur Sonic the Hedgehog 1 complete in box, and this is the one that actually sold separately, and you got the GA rating. So I think this was a packaging in 93 or 94 before they discontinued the clamshell boxes in 94. This is of course this is where he started. This was his first game, not the first game he was in, but his first game. Excellent first act or first series of levels, the zones. Beyond that, I mean, there's a couple of them are hit or miss. I like Marble Garden, Starlight Zone, Spring Yard. Those are pretty good, but then you got the awfulness that is the Labyrinth Zone Acts 1 through 3 and the Scrap Brain Zone Act 3, which of course is Labyrinth Zone Act 4. At least that's how I view it. So this was pretty okay. I would probably give this like a C or a B. So you're getting rankings along with my collection here. I've got this because it's Sonic. If I had to get rid of one to make room for something else, and I'll talk about that, it would be this. I'd probably sideline this, but let's continue the collection with Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I mean, come on. This was my pack-in game when we got the Sega Genesis. And of course, complete in box. This is an absolute fantastic game. This is maybe a low S tier, high A tier, because some of the last acts, like Metropolis Zone and maybe Sky Chase Zone, those are a little bit But it's still an excellent game. A lot of fun that can be had here. Soundtrack is absolutely amazing. Just like the first Sonic the Hedgehog game, the multiplayer zone is great. Sonic Origins, honestly, it really did this really well. That's, I think, the best way to play this. The Christian Whitehead Studios are fantastic for that. But I had to have the physical copy. Speaking of physical copy, this one set me back a little bit, but had to have it. Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I didn't have this growing up and complete in box, which is absolutely awesome. I didn't have this growing up. My cousin did when he had his Sega Genesis. He didn't really have a lot of games, but I often would take this and link this with Sonic and Knuckles, because that's probably one of the greatest platformers of all time, Sonic 3 and Knuckles combined. Alone, I would probably say this is a low A, high B tier. With Sonic and Knuckles combined together, it is a high S tier, probably one of the greatest Sega Genesis games ever made, because this alone is an incomplete game, of course, because it released, I think, in the late 93, or was it early 94, and I played the heck out of this. The music is absolutely excellent. It's really sad that zones or acts 4 through 6 were not included in the Sonic Origins collection. Of course, we know why. Jekyll Maxon's music was not part of this when it was ported to the Sonic Origins. For the longest time, that kept us from being a game that was re-released. But definitely really great to have this. Super glad, because I can link it with this bad boy right here, Sonic and Knuckles. This clamshell does not exist. This was released in the awkward time where Sega discontinued the clamshells in 1994, so this came in a cardboard box. I don't like the cardboard boxes. I like the clamshells. Got this from CustomGameCases.com. Because you can see it fits in here. It is a custom case to where they created to where it fits in there. I don't have the instructions. Another odd game another savings thing that Sega did was have black and white manuals. I don't have it. I need to get it. Alone, I would say this game is a low B, because you play as either Sonic or Knuckles, no Tails option, and there's no way to save your progress at all. And the acts, they're okay. I mean, Flying Battery is pretty fire, and I have a particular love or fondness for the Hidden Palace and the Lava Reef. I mean, really, I think this is really great. Maybe Sandopolis Act 2 slows down a bit, but fantastic game. But because of all the limitations with this being released on its own, it's a low B, maybe high B. But of course, I had to have the blue blur, because again, Nintendo fanboy with a Sega Genesis collection. I'm gonna love those. To that end, the 5th game in my Sega collection is going to be this guy right here, the Mega Man Wily Wars Collector's Edition. I didn't pick this up when it originally released. Instead, I got this from a convention, but this is complete in box. It is unopened. I struck a devil's deal where I think I offered the guy $80 for it, and he begrudgingly accepted it. I say devil's deal because I think I'm the devil, or I got him to accept it. But very happy to have this. This did not release physically in North America. It did in Europe. This was part of the Sega channel when it released. This contains Mega Man's 1 through 3 and the Wily Tower once you beat 1 through 3, and save features. This is an underrated gem. When I first played this via shmemulation in I think the aughts, didn't like it. When this was released on the NSO service on the Switch, I loved it. Thought it was fantastic. So the platforming doesn't feel like how Mega Man does. The perfect analogy for this is how the physics feel a little bit different in Super Mario Bros. 1 in the All-Star series. That's this. The music, again, how the tinniness of the Genesis, it doesn't really do this that many favors, but it is surprisingly colorful, and I love the Wily Tower because you can select, I think, 10 of any of the properties or powers from Mega Man 1 through 3, and 4 of the support stuff for again Mega Man 1 through 3, so the magnet, the rush powers 1 through 3 for Mega Man 2. Makes the Wily Tower super fun. Can't recommend this enough, and you can play this on the NSO service. I buy the Switch. So as I mentioned, I am a Nintendo fanboy, so part of my collection will include this absolute gem of a game, Castlevania Bloodlines. this is probably, I argue that this competes with Super Castlevania 4 for one of the best 16-bit games for this generation, the Classicvania generation. I'm not a huge fan of Rondo of Blood. I know I don't know how much of my gamer credit I've lost by saying that, but this and Super Castlevania has great properties for it being approachable. This has great properties for it having varied gameplay, short but sweet, again 6 levels like the original, and this harkening back to the original. And just the overall gameplay of this is absolutely fantastic. And this is not complete in box. It's just missing the manual. I probably need to eBay that or something to snag the manual. But this is one of the original carts. Really, really happy to have this. And if we're going to be talking about, again, Nintendo Fanboy, and you know what, let's go back and rank these, because I didn't do that. Let's rank the Wily Wars. I would rank this as a low A, because again, just all the stuff that it's got, the physics feel a little bit different, so that kind of dings it, as well as the music quality not being as good. Castlevania Bloodlines is an S tier game, low S tier, probably right below Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. It is that good, such a fantastic game. But again, Nintendo Fanboy, gotta have Earthworm Jim. One of the things with this game is the fact that the music and everything like that isn't as good on this compared to the Super Nintendo version, but everything else on Earthworm Jim on the Genesis blows the Super Nintendo version away. And I probably harken the fact that the Genesis generally does like action games and arcade-like experiences better than the Super Nintendo, so that's one of the many reasons why people like the sports games better on the Sega Genesis. I totally get it. Based on the experience with Earthworm Jim here, I was able to beat this. So I beat the original on the Super Nintendo, I think, once when I was a kid. I mean, when you're a kid, you got endless time and everything like that. I actually beat this without any sort of like, what is it, rewind shenanigans on the NSO service from start to finish. And I was really surprised that I was able to do that, because, and I really say it's because of the quality action that you really had with the Sega Genesis. It's an absolutely fantastic game. We're going to start getting into stuff that is not really on the Super Nintendo. I mean, there is a version of this on the Super Nintendo, but it's not the same. I think it's like a sequel. It's called Sparkster. This is the OG. This is the original one in the series. This is Rocket Knight Adventures. This was something. This is not complete. I need to get the manual. I got to eBay that or something. This one, I would say, is one of the ones that, of course, Retro Bird got me into, because this is, I think, his favorite game of all time. I played by Shmemulation because it was the only way that I could before this released on a collection on the Switch and all major consoles. This is hard. I will admit, this is a very hard game, but it was so worth the gameplay because it's like that arcade platformer style, and absolutely fantastic. Music's great, surprisingly colorful for a Sega Genesis game, and a whole lot of fun, even on, I think, the easiest setting, which is normal. I think I had to continue a couple times because it's that hard, but I had a blast with it. This is probably a low A, high B. I didn't do that for Earthworm Jim. I would say Earthworm Jim is probably a high B. But yeah, like this, Earthworm Jim is also really tough, but Rocket Knight Adventures, fantastic game. We're getting totally out of Sega Genesis territory with Streets of Rage 2. This one is another one up. So not in the greatest condition, the one that I got. It's probably one of the ones that came with the system in a bundle. A little bit of a marker here, and there's no manual, but I got this on the cheap. I was just really glad to be able to get a physical copy of this. I need to get the manual for this one as well. Absolutely, this is probably one of the best beat-em-up games in the 4th generation. Probably competes with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, as the premier best beat 'em up, and then maybe Final Fight for the Sega CD. Probably those are the top 3 for the beat 'em ups. I mean, you can't go wrong with the music. There's one or two tracks that aren't great on this. Beyond that, it's baller. It's all the soundtrack on this slaps really hard. And again, you got the Sega style crunchiness with the overall gameplay, and I'm saying that as a good thing. This is one of the, like I said, one of the best beat 'em ups. Can't go wrong with this. The last in my collection, this is kind of a cheat. I'm going to show it. It's Phantasy Star 4 for the Sega Genesis. This also did not come with a clamshell case. I did a customgamecases.com to get the case on this. That's why it looks so minty and so good and fresh. Missing a couple things with this. I'm missing the manual. Also missing the game. What the heck, Fox? Why are you showing a game case that you part of your collection that you don't have? Because I will be getting this.
It will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine.
Because this was such a fantastic game. I played this also on the NSO. I will be paying whatever I need to pay to get a physical copy of this, and then of course I'll do what I can to get the manual because this was so good. This is like Sega Genesis's Final Fantasy IV. I got such big Final Fantasy IV vibes. This was absolutely fantastic. I can't recommend this enough. You can play this on the NSO expansion pack. It really got me into wanting to play Phantasy Stars 2 and 3. I'm really hoping Sega does something with this. They keep doing a lot of stuff with their old properties. Why aren't they doing that with the Phantasy Star series? Especially seeing how big the HD 2D line is. And that begs the question, why can't they do that? And this begs the question, Fox, you limited yourself to 10 games and one of them you don't have. What games would you feature if you would make room for them? The number one on that is going to be Gunstar Heroes. That's another one that's extremely pricey. I would push Sonic the Hedgehog 1 out of my collection. I would still hold on to it. I would probably just literally push it back in the bookshelf here so that I could feature Gunstar Heroes. That's one that I would absolutely love to have because that was another one that I played that was absolutely fantastic. Probably I would also do Contra Hardcore. And that was one that I started. I haven't finished through, but I'm waiting to get that desire and inkling to want to play it and give it the time that it deserves because I loved Contra on the NES and Contra 3 Alien Wars Super C for the NES. That needs it. Hardcore needs its time. Crusader of Senti I would probably get if I could, but that and Gunstar Heroes, that's a lot of money. That's really expensive. So I'm going to be realistic. I probably wouldn't have that in my collection just because, like, maybe it's like the fox with the grapes. Oh, it's too high to reach. I don't want that. Maybe that's Crusader or Senti. And really, probably maybe even like Thunder Force 4. That would be another one. That was absolutely great shmup. And the shmups really fired on all cylinders on the Sega Genesis. And then probably Phantasy Star 2. I haven't played it, but that would be one that I've heard is really great. Shining Force 1 and 2 are also great. I haven't given those the time that it needs. But let me know in the comments section below, what ones am I missing? What ones are in your Sega Genesis collection that are the absolute GOAT? Love to start a conversation with you. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and have a great day.